Coach. Congratulations. Enjoy. All right, enjoy.
All righty. Thanks very much. You know, I still haven't forgiven the Amazing Race for not picking me. I'm thinking if everybody in this room would write CBS a letter, they still have our video on file. And if you would tell them that they'll watch, if they put me on, they might put me on. So keep that in mind. I do want to thank the NFCA for this evening and for the opportunities they've provided. It's really been an awesome evening. Maybe not a perfect evening. My idea of a perfect evening, quite frankly, is sitting on the porch of my log cabin in my porch swing with my dog in total silence. But this comes close, and I really appreciate it. I want to thank all those who were responsible for nominating me. I don't even know necessarily who all those people were or are. But I know Natalie Layden and Julie Linhart had a part in that. I know my current assistant, Carrie Hoying, had a part in that. And a number of others of you, particularly at the Division III level. And I really appreciate that. I'd like to acknowledge some of those that are present tonight. My mom was able to come. And my mom is 78 years old. And she's been at home taking care of my grandma, who's 99 years old. So any of you who think I'm ready to give up coaching, I've got some pretty good news. So it ain't happening anytime soon. I'm appreciative that President Steele came down, and anytime we're in the NCAA tournament, somewhere, somehow, you'll see President Steele there, the president of Muskingum College, and I really appreciate that. Larry Shank, our athletic director's here. I've got a number of my former players here, even parents of my former players here. Some of our fans are here, and certainly all my fellow coaches that I've played against, both in the High Athletic Conference and at the Rebel Games in various places. I just appreciate all your support. I really want to thank Muskingum College. They hired me at age 22. You can do the math if you want to know how old I am, but I've been coaching for 35 years. That was my first job interview, and it will be my last. So I don't think there's very many people that can say that. It's been a great fit for me. I've seen a lot of things happen at Muskingum and in the sport of softball since I've been coaching, as you can hear when some of the other people have spoken as well. But watching the evolution of Title IX, you know, when I was hired there, I coached 4 sports. I coached field hockey and volleyball in the same season. For 26 years, I coached basketball, I coached softball. Now I've got it narrowed down to just softball. I've taught a multitude of classes, and you folks out there who are D3 people, especially you older ones, know exactly what I'm saying. I've seen the evolution from AIAW to NCAA. I too have gone through that ASA Major League playing, and I look now at all this opportunity that youth have in fast-pitch softball, those 10 and under, 12 and under, 14 and under, 18 and under, 23 and under. When I was playing, you either played ASA Major League or you didn't play. And we got our lessons from when I was in high school playing with and against people who were 30, 35 years old. And if you didn't learn those lessons, then sit down and get out of the way. And it was a great system. It worked. I think the ones of us who survived it learned those lessons pretty well. But it's amazing to see how far the sport has come. I've had a lot of opportunity to serve on some great committees, which has really helped me grow professionally. I've had a chance, well, currently I'm on the NCAA National Softball Committee with a lot of great people, including Tim Tatro, who's here, and she's led us so well, and Jan Gentry with the NCAA. It was a great pleasure to serve on the NCAA National Rules Committee back at the time that the rule book was being written. To be on that committee with Sharon Drysdale and Dee Abrahamson and all the others was an awesome learning experience. If anyone ever tells you that Sharon Drysdale is not a slave driver, don't believe them. She's a wonderful person to work with, as is Dee, and it was just a great experience. Last year I did miss the convention due to breast cancer, but I'm back again, and I think we all teach our players to play through pain. And I think that's something as coaches that we have to learn and understand as well. Pain comes in a lot of forms. It can be physical pain, it can be emotional pain, it can be family separations or divorces or taking care of a sick loved one or whatever it is. Pain comes in a lot of forms. But if you're going to survive coaching long enough, you're going to have to learn to play through pain as a coach. Just like players have to learn to play through pain as players. But I think I'm standing here as a result of a lot of answered prayers. And I think any adversity has a silver lining, and maybe the silver lining that came from that was, among other things, it generated a number of letters from players. When I got sick this second time, I had had breast cancer 13 years ago and seemed to be good to go, and then last year it reared its head again. But a lot of players wrote to me, both current players and former players, simply telling me, you know, I hope you get better and you need to continue to coach, and here's why. Here's what you did for my life. And I think the one word that ran consistently through all those letters was the word influence. And I think you've heard some of the coaches tonight talk about influence and how important that is, particularly for you young coaches that are out there. Let me just mention a couple things that you may find useful as you continue to pursue your career relative to influence, because I think that's why we're in the profession. You know, when freshmen come to us, they don't always act the way we want them to act, or do the things we want them to do, or say the things we want them to say. And I think too often, especially nowadays, there are too many coaches that when that happens, they seek solace rather than seek solutions. We tend to learn how to become better copers than we are influencers. Rather than change the outcome, it's simply easier to deal with the consequences. And that's not a good thing for our profession. You know, we get those freshmen in there, and you get that group of freshmen, it reminds me of a fleet of cars speeding up a cliff, heading to sure disaster. You know, and what we need to do is find a way to head them off before they reach the cliff. What we tend to want to do is simply park a fleet of ambulances at the bottom and wait for them to come down, and we'll pick up the pieces, because it's easier to do that. But influence is such an important part of this profession. The things that I think I found most useful in learning how to influence players are these. First of all, you have to concede before you ever start that it's not going to be easy, because it's not easy to have proper influence on people. I think of myself, you know, I keep getting older, and those freshmen are still the same age. They're still 18 every time they come in, and every year as coaches we get older. That generation gap gets wider, and you're not kidding about text message, and you better learn how to do that, I guess. Most of us are looking for quick fixes. You know, in this society we're looking for a diet pill that cures overweight, or we're looking for a set of DVDs that will give us financial freedom. And we all have that favorite influence method. Maybe it's making rules, or maybe it's setting consequences, or maybe it's handing out rewards. It can be a lot of different things, but that's really too simplistic. It's much more complicated than that. Just taking one or two things like that. I've done a lot of backpacking in my time, and that's a little like putting on a fanny pack and thinking you're going to backpack the Rocky Mountains. It's not going to work. There might be a few useful tools in there, but it's a lot more complex than that. It is not easy to be the proper influence. I think second thing you have to do to influence your players is simply to gain their confidence in your character and in your expertise. First of all, with your character, kids are just like us. Nobody wants to be led by someone who says, do as I say, but not as I do. If you're going to talk the talk, then you have to walk the walk. And if you're going to be a successful coach, I don't think there's any other way to do it than that. And secondly, I think they have to have confidence in your expertise. No one likes to listen to a moron. And sadly, you know, the best way to gain a player's confidence probably is to win enough games that you can gain some credibility. And I'm not sure that necessarily measures expertise, but that's often the way they measure it. You know, I don't think that's fair. It's like a kid that would you know, maybe roll their eyes because their parent can't figure out how to program a simple cell phone number into their cell phone. And the kid's thinking, well, if they can't do that, how can they give me advice about dating or whatever? One has very little to do with the other, but I think most players connect winning with credibility. I'm not sure which comes first, winning or credibility, but I think they're definitely connected.